wherever you may be. Welcome to the One Perspective to Another podcast. I am your humble, gracious host, A. Sanders, here with episode 97 of the One Perspective to Another podcast. On this episode, first, I'm going to be having you guys listen to a lesson plan, I guess you can say, from a podcast, Lewis Howes. I used to listen to him a lot, almost every damn day. But he has this question where he poses to people about 3 lessons that you can leave behind to people. I'm going to have you guys listen to that first. But then also on the podcast, we're going to be talking about Bobby Axelrod. Shout out to Billions, and just having that mindset, being capitalism versus being an empath and just dealing with emotions. Next, we're going to talk about how it is and being, just having expectations with people, having people be in the right frame of mind. Next, about talking about going to be authenticity, knowing when a person really cares about you, then asking some questions just in general, just shooting the shit, and as always, ending with the sleeper of the week, just shit that's been on my mind. So without further ado, I'm going to have you guys listen to this little session with Lewis Howes and Marisa Peer. Shout out to Vanessa for sending me this. I appreciate you if you're listening, and here we go.
On Earth many years from now, and you've created every program, every free content, paid program, all this stuff. You've created it, but you've got to take it with you on your last day. So no one has access to any of the hypnotherapy, the healing stuff. No one has access to your content. But you get to share 3 lessons to the world. This is all you could leave behind. These 3 lessons or 3 truths. What would you say would be yours?
I'm enough would be the first truth. Always tell yourself you're enough. Don't let in destructive criticism. You get to choose. Not letting it in will change your life. What would be my third? Talk to yourself better. Talk to yourself as if you are your own best friend. We'd never say to our best friend, "Oh, you're such a loser. Oh my God, why did you wear that? It doesn't suit you. How could you ever think you could write a book? That's terrible. You forgot the best ingredient. You haven't left enough time to get to the meeting, you idiot." Talk to yourself like you're your own best friend, your own best lover, your own best parent. You know, so many of my clients come in and they have what I call the missing bit. They're still waiting for some absent father to go, "I love you." Some withholding parent to go, "You're amazing." Some mean teacher that had a bad week to say, "You're smart." And half the people they're waiting to fill them up are already dead. Whatever the words I've been waiting for, say them. You're a great kid. How lucky am I to be your parent? You're the smartest kid in the school. You're my favorite. You're the best friend. If there was a template for a best friend, best girlfriend, husband, lover, kid, you're the template. Tell yourself that, because it becomes true.
And there you have it. I'm just particularly talking about her last truth, her third truth. Her first 2 were good, but I'm just particularly fascinated with the third one because I have a lot of friends, family, people who I feel would benefit and actually find a great amount of power and strength from practicing better self-talk. Whether it's listening to yourself, just being active in listening to yourself, the things that come out of your mind, the things that come out of your heart, the things that come out of your soul. People talk to themselves very, very disrespectfully. And there's a difference when it comes to things that I've talked about all the time, whether it's situational awareness or being aware of your environment. Situational awareness is knowing when to do what, where, and why. Some people will be like, "Oh, well, what about if you just playing sports?" Yeah, you're aware that you are in a competitive environment and it is okay to let your ego thrive. That is a time and place to let your anger out, to let your frustrations out, to let your competitive juices start flowing. But when it's just you and yourself, you in your room, you in your house, you in your car, and something happens to you or something didn't go your way, you didn't get your expectations met, the shit that you start to say to yourself, especially just men and women, where it comes with relationships and dealing with emotions, the positive and negative self-talk that they have to each other, to themselves, is very, very hurtful to their own demeanor. Talking shit about themselves, saying that they ugly, that they fat, that they ain't never gonna get enough money, that they not likable, they not lovable, they don't have any skills or anything like that. Like, it still baffles me, and just the craziness of how the human mind works and how we don't even really know how the human mind really works, but just how people can be so negative on themselves for whatever reason, whether it's past trauma, whether it's from a shitty relationship, whether it's from a shitty parent, a mom, a dad, a cousin, whether you dealt with whatever the fuck this shit is, the amount of shit that you can deal with is limitless. But it comes to a point where people have to start understanding that it's just you. At the end of the day, it's just you in your mind, in your body, in your heart, and your soul. Just me getting older and realizing myself that as much as I want to, as much as I admire people, as much as I have compassion and love for people, their will is still their will. And they will not do anything that they do not want to do. Whatever gets that person, we get motivated. I do podcasts. I listen to podcasts. The difference between being motivated and actually wanting to do it yourself versus being inspired. There's a big difference between those things. And motivation, self-motivation, is all the words that begin with self, self-love, self-care, self-help. Like, getting it for yourself is extremely exhausting as a human being. Some people have it, some people don't. But regardless of whatever, you Michael Jordan or you fucking Bobby Axelrod, it's still exhausting because it takes a lot of energy to be on that high. And it doesn't mean exhausting in the sense like you're never going to be able to get it back. It requires a lot of energy. It requires a lot of attention to detail to be great. It requires a lot of attention to detail to be able to understand other people. Whatever it is that you see fit in this world that you do, whether it's money, whether it's fucking a nurse, a doctor, a firefighter, a fucking selling stocks, whatever the fuck it is, you have to be your greatest version of you for that. And that starts with the way that you communicate with yourself. And I also found it too in this article where it said that some people do not talk to themselves in their head. And I found that really interesting because me personally, a lot of the times I will go days, especially being in this quarantine, where I will not open my mouth at all. Not unless it's to eat, because I'm going to eat. But to talk, to have a conversation, I have probably 95% of the conversations that I speak inside of my head. There's the consciousness, there's my voice, and that self-talk, that self-person, whatever that person is, I'm a very intimate person with myself in the way that I have my self-talk, because I understand what you're supposed to do to be able to gain clarity, to gain serenity, to understand that you breathing goes with your anger and so forth, and whatever you're dealing with in the day, not having expectations towards people, that positive self-talk to make you great. And I feel like a lot of people do not know how or know why they should do that. And I don't want to be the reason why saying either that it's bad that you have negative self-talk if you talk that way. But at the end of the day, whatever that negative self-talk is, it came from somewhere. Causality. Shout out to Avengers. There's never anything that just happens because it happens. Shit happens because something happened. That's what goes on in you. If you starting to talk shit about yourself, something happened to you. Something hurt you, something dismembered you, something took you out of your zone. Like, people got to start listening to their own will again and understanding that this life is meant for you. And whether or not you want to believe it, it don't really fucking matter what you do for other people in a sense of trying to change that for them, because they control their own minds. They control their own self-talk. You can only sway a person so much because they're in their habits. They're stuck in their ways. You can start recognizing patterns. You can start recognizing when that person and those people start doing the same bullshit over and over and over again. And that's where I always used to talk about connecting the dots, making sure that shit goes right, making sure that whatever happens in the moment, you can see what's going on, so you can take a step back from your own will and understand and see what that person is doing, not only to you but to themselves. And moving forward from that, we're going to talk about expectations, but I just want to talk about that because she made it very present that you have to control your self-talk, the way that you talk to yourself. If you want to be great, if you want to be Jordan, if you want to be Bobby Axelrod, and it is whatever it is that you want to be that type of person in, Start doing it with yourself. Start being positive with yourself. Start reinforcing good habits and good traits for yourself. If you got to look in the mirror, if you got to write it on the mirror, if you got to go fucking to the beach, whatever it is that you got to do to create positive self-talk for yourself. I don't care if you got a mental illness. I don't care if you got fucking half an arm. Your positive self-talk is important to your well-being. There is no such thing as can't when it comes to this kind of shit, because you control the narrative. So don't be a poodle and sit up there and say that you can't, because you can. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny, as always. Next. Got that out the way. I guess you can say it's a little OPTA after dark. But we can't deal with the bullshit no more. It's 2020. I'm still keeping that narrative. We not dealing with no bullshit. We not sugarcoating shit. So it is what it is. But next, dealing with expectations. I feel like I do this podcast about expectations every fucking week. But with that being said, excuse me, we can't keep expecting people to be right. And I mean that in the sense of our authenticity. Going back to the battle in my mind of like watching Billions, great show on Showtime. Billions, Bobby Axelrod, he's a fucking billionaire trying to be a trillionaire. And his mindset is very capitalistic in the terms of winning. And these are debates that I have in my mind all the time, because as much as I talk about all the emotions and the being an empath and just feelings and doing what's right and all this shit, I want to be a killer. I want to be a winner. I want to have money. I want to have all the good shit in life. Yes, I'm content with the things that I have and the things that I've done in my life. I'm very satisfied. It's not anything that I need in that sense, but there are still things that I want. So in my mind, there's a constant battle of, should I be Bobby Axelrod or should I be fucking Will Smith? Like, the good versus and Bobby Axelrod, he's not a bad person. He just wants his money when he wants it, and he does whatever it takes to get there. Relentlessness. What does it take for you to be that kind of king? And it's an internal battle that I'm still going with as myself, or becoming more of myself. It happened in Black Panther 2. His dad said, what kind of king do you want to be? That's not the quote, but it's something along those lines. And that's something that I struggle with daily, trying to figure out who I am as a person, what I want to be. Do I want to be that positive king? Do I want to be that tyrant king? Do I want to just take over? Do I want to be empathetic to people in my understanding, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now with Corona and people working versus people not working, essential workers versus people who just get money for nothing. Like, all that shit matters. And the thing about it for me is this podcast is about perspective, and it's about shining the light on all those different types of people, all those different type of thoughts. So it makes it hard, and it makes it difficult for me to just sit here and just be in that mode and trying to do pros and cons of which way I should be. But at the end of the day, I'm really both. But like I tell everybody, this is me, this is my situational awareness, is the process of seeing these things, talking to people, having conversations on both sides of the fence, and trying to control my own will and see what's best for me to be a positive influence, a positive light to people, and just to continue to be who I'm supposed to be, if that makes any sense. And that segues back to expectations, because I can't expect anybody who's not me to do anything that I wouldn't do for me. I can't expect the world to just, on the drop of a dime, break bad habits. I can't expect the world to just not do what it's been doing. As much as things have changed, they tend to stay the same as well. And it's just up to me to be able to be alert. And I feel, especially in these past 3 years, that I have tempered my expectations for the world very much so, as well as myself. The expectations of me are extremely higher, and the expectations of the world are much lower. There are certain individuals that my expectations vary from time to time, but it's not in a sense where it changes that drastically. So, with that being said, make sure you know who is around you and what expectations they have of you. Because it's just the forever asking question of, are you doing it for you? Are you doing it for good and right and wrong? Like, that's the shit about life that makes things complicated, where it turns to gray. And that's why I do these podcasts, because it's just shit that's been on my mind. It's the shit that I'm thinking about. Just always boils down to right and wrong, but in your own personal moral. But everybody got different morals. That's why it's one perspective to another. Next, I want to talk about the person who you really know who cares. Asking these same questions, like, is your worth wrapped up in you being on social media? Is your worth wrapped up in you getting likes? Is your worth wrapped up in how somebody perceives you? And it kind of tying everything together with the self-talk shit. If your confidence comes from an app, you're going to a miserable place, period. That you can't chop that shit up any other kind of way. Yeah, it's a human nature for us to be liked, and we want to be liked, and we want to be looked at and all that shit. But if it doesn't come from you, you are in a very, very toxic place. Because what happens when that shit goes away? What happens when you get older, especially if you're a woman? They wanted you because you was young and fruitful, and you had all the bearings of what men wanted and all that shit. The same for women too. I mean, the same for men too. You were luscious, you had the abs, you were GQ man of the year and all this shit. Like, what happens when that shit goes away? How are you going to deal with it? What is your backup plan for that? How are you going to cope? Is it important to you? Is it not important to you? And just seeing it, like the posts are coming back on Instagram now. The thirst traps, whatever you want to call it. Like, what happens if the internet broke and you couldn't do that no more? What is your substance? What is behind you that makes you go forward and makes you move into the world? If it wasn't for these likes, like, do you post what you want the world to think of you, or do you post to the world what you love? Because me personally, like, everybody knows I post about fucking Marvel, I post about perspective, I post about food, Chick-fil-A, I post about my movies, I post about my drone. That is shit that I love. That is concrete, never gonna change about me. But it's other people that I see, and they just post them. And I know it's a vanity thing, and it's a deeper rooted issue. Not issue, but just thought process. But like, what's beyond that? And then it's just a post, it's just a comment. And I'm not against it. I'm not saying that it's bad. It's just something that is intriguing to me, because I want to know what's the substance behind those people. What happens if they are one of those people who, or where their self-esteem is tied into likes? Their self-esteem is tied into how somebody else thinks about them. That's very scary to think about. What about if that person says to you one day that you're the most beautiful person in the world, and the next day they say you're a piece of shit? What does that do for you? That person probably doesn't have good self-esteem, because if that affects them that way, then it's pretty detrimental to your health. And that's the part that I'm wanting to get to, more than just the selfies and the shit on the Instagrams. That's the thought that I'm having. Like, how do people get past that, beyond that, and kind of tying everything full circle, going back to what the lady was talking about? Like, you got to have that positive self-talk. You got to control your own will. Very difficult, but it's very doable. Eliminate can't from your vocabulary. And just do it, man. Because there's too many people out here who don't want to set up the right shit, who don't want to set up the process, who don't want to ask the right questions, who don't want to take advantage of having the fucking internet. The only thing that you got to do is fucking ask Google anything in this world that you want to do. Stop being a fucking poodle and just get your shit together. Get your shit going. Even if it's just a baby step. Don't sit there idle, man. My mom used to tell me that shit all the time. Do not tarry on what you got to do. Just do one thing. Even if it's a small thing, a centimeter worth of action is more than none at all. Just get into action. You're going to be who you are. Yes, strangers are going to love you more than your peers at times, but that's okay. Because you just got to keep doing what you're doing to fulfill your own will. So, that's all I got this week. I guess you can say this is an OPTA After Dark episode, talking a lot of shit. But these are things that I've just been thinking about. I hope this makes sense, but this is my episode this week. I guess you can say it's a diary episode or just a perspective episode, but it's my point of view. It just really affected me to hearing her say about positive self-talk, because it's really difficult for people dealing with illnesses, being sick, dealing with trauma, dealing with everything. We all got trauma, whether we want to say it or not. We all done dealt with some shit that we don't like. So, with that being said, move forward into this next week with positive self-talk with yourself. Just say one good thing about yourself that you like. Even if you gotta fucking think about the shit all fucking day. It's one thing about you that you like. Don't be no poodle, because it is. But with that being said, we're going to end this episode. I will catch you on the flip side. Up next is my sleeper. Shout out to OVO, the nail for this song right here. I've heard it, but I never knew what it was. But we'll catch you on the flip side. I hope everybody has a wonderful, beautiful, blessed upcoming week. Quarantine life. And we'll catch you on the flip side. I'm out.
People say I drive too fast, move too fast, live too fast. Ain't no such thing as too fast. People say I drive too fast, move too fast, live too fast. Ain't no such thing as too fast. Living at the speed of light, like a bullet. I could be there by the morning. I can't call it, so I ain't got no time to wait out. I've been down and out for too long, and I ain't got too many options. I drive too fast, move too fast, live too fast. Ain't no such thing as too fast. Say I drive too fast, move too fast, live too fast. Ain't no such thing as too fast. Still alive, but my heart broke. I could be dead by tomorrow. He's got eyes on me. He'll take me soon. He's making too fast, ain't no such thing as too fast. I called on you, you were needed. You went in my today, and I ain't see ya. I thought of you while I was working. I'm so proud to look for you. I hope you're hurting. Tell me what I got to prove. Who's working? I don't mean nothing to you. I hope you're hurting. You ain't got nothing to say. You're too good at walking the